When we look at the lives of the great souls who walked before us, we realize that true power is never just about one lifetime. It is about the ripple effect that continues long after they are gone. Their words, their actions, their courage, and their vision live on, shaping the thoughts, choices, and dreams of generations that follow. That is the magic of legacy. It is not confined to the past. It is a force that lives inside us right now. Think about it. Gandhi was not born into power. He was an ordinary man who turned his conviction into an extraordinary movement. His weapon was not violence, but truth. His army was not soldiers, but millions of hearts united by courage. He taught the world that one person, grounded in integrity, could stand up against the mightiest of empires and win, not with force, but with unshakable faith. His life shows us that legacy is not about titles, wealth, or monuments. It's about the principles you leave behind that others can carry forward. And then there was Vivekananda, a monk with nothing but his robe and his voice, yet his words shook the world. Standing on a global stage, he carried the message of India's spiritual strength with such conviction that people thousands of miles away felt awakened. He was not just speaking, he was igniting. His message wasn't limited to his time. It was a call to the timeless spirit within every human being. That is legacy, when your voice becomes a bridge between centuries, reminding humanity of what it can be. But here's the truth: you and I are not just spectators of their story. We are participants in it. Legacy is not a museum we walk through. It's a torch we carry. Their lives are not just history lessons. They are invitations. Invitations to live with the same courage, the same clarity, and the same relentless commitment to truth and service. The question we must ask ourselves is this: what will we do with the inheritance we've received? Will we stand on this ground and simply admire what was done? Or will we rise to ensure that the values they lived for continue to breathe through us? Because legacy is not preserved in books. It is preserved in people. It is preserved in you, in me, in us. When we embrace that truth, we stop seeing ourselves as small. We recognize that we are links in an unbroken chain of greatness, and it is now our turn to add strength to it. Life does not shape leaders. Leaders shape life by the principles they choose to live by. When challenges come, when the world throws obstacles, when the odds seem impossible, what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary is not the circumstance, but the decision to stand on unshakable values. Look at the lives of those who changed history. They did not wait for perfect conditions. Gandhi did not wait for an easier time to rise. He faced humiliation, injustice, and oppression, yet he anchored himself in truth and nonviolence. That choice, that principle, was stronger than any empire's laws or weapons. He proved that a man with clarity and conviction can bend the weight of history without lifting a sword. Circumstances screamed impossible, but his principles whispered inevitable. Vivekananda too stood in a world that doubted, questioned, and sometimes dismissed him. He could have shrunk back. He could have let circumstances define him. But he chose to stand rooted in the timeless principle that every human being carries divinity within. His vision was not blurred by poverty, by struggle, or by doubt. Instead, he turned those very challenges into fuel for his fire. His voice rose above circumstance because it was carried by principle. And here is the truth. All of us face circumstances. Some are heavy, some are unfair, some break people down. But the difference between those who are crushed by life and those who carve their names into history is the compass they hold inside. Circumstances may change, but principles never waver. So, what does that mean for you and me? It means we don't get to blame the environment, the economy, the critics, or the setbacks. It means when life says, "You can't," we answer with the clarity of what we stand for. Because when you know your principles, whether it's truth, discipline, compassion, or resilience, then no storm can knock you off course. Every empire falls, every challenge shifts, every obstacle eventually fades. But the human spirit anchored in principle becomes untouchable. It becomes unstoppable. That's why the legacy of giants is still alive today, not because their circumstances were easy, but because their principles were unshakable. So the challenge is clear. Stop asking for lighter burdens. Start building stronger backs. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Start standing in perfect conviction. When you live by principles, you don't just survive circumstances, you transform them. And when you transform them, you don't just change your life, you change the world. Inside every human being lies a spark, small, silent, but unshakable. Most people go through life ignoring it, burying it under fear, doubt, and excuses. But once in a while, someone listens to that call within, and when they do, the ordinary dissolves and greatness is born. The truth is, greatness is not reserved for a chosen few. It does not belong only to leaders on stages or heroes in books. It belongs to anyone willing to listen to that voice inside that whispers, "You are meant for more." It belongs to the mother who raises her children with unshakable values, the student who dares to dream beyond limits, the leader who stands for truth, even when it costs them everything. Greatness is a choice, and it is waiting for all of us. Gandhi listened to that inner voice. He was not handed power, he created it. His greatness wasn't in riches or status, but in answering a deeper call, the call to stand for justice through peace. Vivekananda, too, heard it. When he stood on the world stage, he wasn't just speaking. He was channeling the timeless strength of a spirit that had decided to rise. They both prove to us that the call is real, and it's not out there somewhere. It's in here, inside you. The challenge is that most people silence that voice. They tell themselves they are not enough, that life is too hard, that dreams are for others. They shrink when life asks them to rise. But the very struggles we face are not barriers to greatness. They are invitations. Pressure does not destroy diamonds, it creates them. And in the same way, adversity does not bury your greatness, it awakens it. So ask yourself, what is the call you've been ignoring? What is the dream you've been postponing? What is the fire you've let burn low because fear told you to wait? The time to answer is not tomorrow, not someday, it is now, because life will not wait, and neither should you. When you dare to step into that inner calling, you begin to live differently. You walk taller, speak bolder, act stronger. You stop living like a prisoner of circumstance and start living like a creator of destiny. That is when you discover that greatness was never outside of you. It was always inside, waiting for you to claim it. True strength is often misunderstood. People think it comes from wealth, position, armies, or influence. But history shows us again and again that the deepest power is born from simplicity, because simplicity is clarity, and clarity is unstoppable. When we strip away the noise, the distractions, and the illusions, what we are left with is essence. And when a person lives from essence, their courage shines brighter than any crown or weapon. Gandhi wore simple clothes, walked barefoot, and lived with humility. Yet kings and rulers feared the unshakable strength in his simplicity. It wasn't the cloth on his body, but the conviction in his soul that made empires tremble. Vivekananda owned almost nothing, yet carried a wealth greater than nations. His ideas, his wisdom, his vision. Simplicity gave him focus. Simplicity gave him fearlessness. When he spoke, he did not need ornamented words or grand displays. His simplicity carried such power because it came directly from truth. In a world obsessed with appearances, with collecting more, showing more, chasing more, it takes courage to live simple. It takes courage to choose principles over possessions, character over comfort, depth over decoration. Simplicity is not weakness, it is discipline. It is the sharpening of the spirit until nothing can distract it. And isn't that what we all seek? We chase success, thinking it is complicated. But the most extraordinary lives are built on the most fundamental truths: honesty, compassion, resilience, service, and love. These are simple ideas, but it takes boldness to live them consistently. Anyone can talk about values, but to actually embody them, to stand in them when it costs you, to hold them when the world mocks you, that is real courage. So what about you? Where in your life are you complicating what is actually simple? Where are you hiding behind noise instead of standing in clarity? Maybe you don't need more strategies, more tools, more things. Maybe you need less distraction, less doubt, less pretending, and more focus, more truth, more courage. Because when you simplify your life around what matters most, you unlock a strength no one can take from you. That kind of courage doesn't shout, but it moves mountains. It doesn't demand recognition, but it changes history. And in that quiet, disciplined strength lies the proof that you don't need to look powerful to be powerful. You just need to be brave enough to live aligned with truth. And that simplicity will echo louder than any noise the world can create. Some places in the world are not just pieces of land. They are sources of energy, seeds of ideas that grow far beyond their borders. When we stand on this soil, we are not standing in isolation. We are standing on ground that has given birth to ideas powerful enough to shake the world and unite humanity. From here, a message of peace went out that proved stronger than violence. A movement of nonviolence, born in simplicity, became a strategy that inspired revolutions on distant continents. Leaders around the world drew courage from this land because the principles lived here were not meant for one nation alone. They were meant for humanity as a whole. From here also rose a spiritual voice that traveled across oceans, declaring to the world that every human being is more than flesh and bone, that we are divine in essence, limitless in potential. When Vivekananda stood before the world, he was not just representing a culture. He was carrying a vision that broke boundaries. He reminded humanity that strength and compassion can coexist, that science and spirituality can walk hand in hand, that nations can rise not by conquering but by inspiring. This vision was not limited by time or geography. It crossed seas, it transcended languages, it echoed in the hearts of millions who had never set foot here. That is what makes it extraordinary. It did not remain locked in the past. It still breathes in the present. Wherever people fight for freedom with peace, his spirit is alive. Wherever people seek unity in diversity, his voice is alive. Wherever human beings choose dignity over division, his legacy is alive. But this is not just about honoring the past. It is about recognizing the responsibility of the present. If ideas born here could inspire the world once, then they can inspire it again. If voices from this land could shape the course of nations before, then we must ask, what voices will rise today? What visions will we carry forward to the next century? The truth is simple. The world does not just need technology, power, or wealth. It needs vision. Vision that unites instead of divides. Vision that uplifts instead of suppresses. Vision that awakens instead of numbs. That kind of vision has already risen from this soil once, and it can rise again through us if we choose to carry the torch. Every generation inherits a story, but the question is never just about the past, it's about what we choose to do with it. Standing in the presence of great legacies is not only an honor, it is a responsibility. Because if we only admire history without adding to it, we allow the chain of greatness to weaken. But if we take what we've been given and build upon it, then the story continues stronger than ever. Think about this. Gandhi did not walk this earth so that we would simply remember him. Vivekananda did not speak with fire so that we would only quote his words. They lived, they fought, they dreamed so that you and I could carry forward what they ignited. Their work is not a closed chapter, it is an open invitation. The truth is, legacy is never complete. It is alive, breathing, waiting to be continued by those who dare to rise. Every act of courage, every stand for truth, every moment of service becomes another link in the chain. And today, you are that link. Whether you realize it or not, you are part of this continuation. The question is not if you will contribute, it is how. Will you shrink back and let the story fade, or will you rise and add your voice, your strength, your vision? Because the world is not only shaped by the famous few, it is shaped by countless individuals who decide to live with conviction. Look around you. The challenges we face today are different from the ones of the past, but the need for courage, truth, and unity has never been greater. The call is not just for leaders in high positions. It is for every human being willing to live by values that outlast them. That means you, that means me, that means all of us. And here's the empowering truth. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be extraordinary to begin. You simply need to take the first step to speak when it's easier to stay silent, to stand when it's safer to sit, to give when it's tempting to hold back. That is how legacies are continued, one decision at a time. So when history looks back on this moment, let it not say that we admired greatness from a distance. Let it say that we became part of it, because the story is not finished. The torch has been passed, and now it is in our hands.